Well, happy Friday the 13th, everyone. Hopefully, things have been good so far. We have another session in the 18th annual Transforming the Teaching and Learning Environment virtual conference. I'm Bob Hales, I'm your moderator. Don't forget the Journal of Educators Online. Duh. Uh, I'm glad this is Friday. I can recover for 2 days. The Journal of Educators Online is our sponsor this year, and they have some great refereed articles going back to 2004, a zillion of them. I encourage you to take a look. I bet there's some articles that you'll find directly address some of what you need. So it's thejeo.com. We have with us today Sarah Ormaza. Did I pronounce that correctly? Good.
You did, thank
Sarah
you.
is the Associate Director of Academic Support Services for the Chapman Graduate School at Florida International University. Is that Miami?
Yes,
Oh, man, I've got it right. We also have Sergio Tagara. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, you did.
Oh, right. Uh, He's a graduate of FIU, does consulting, started the Game Changers podcast that airs multiple channels online and features guests who have been game changers in their field. That's a great idea. They're going to talk about boost belonging and student success through peer connection. So let me turn it over to Sarah and Sergio.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you. And thank you, Bob, for the kind introduction. And by the way, so the podcast is something we do on the side. That's not my business, although it's a lot of fun. We have a consulting company called Game Changers Consulting. So we focus on, strategic planning, leadership development, employee engagement. And we'll talk a little bit about how we've been able to intersect some of the technologies that we use in that space to build sense of belonging and value and mattering within online programs, which has been a large issue across all universities, really. So, a presentation today: boost belonging and student success through peer connection.
wait, did you mute yourself?
I
Okay.
think I may have muted myself. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So here's what we'll cover. We'll start off with Sarah, and she'll run through a little bit about FIU's professional MBA program. Then we'll jump into a little bit on the isolation dilemma that a lot of universities are experiencing in their online MBA programs, and the ROI, the return on investment of belonging. If you're able to create a sense of belonging up front, how that has an impact. The Game Changers plan, some of the results and transformations. Then I would love to hear from you guys in terms of what stood out in terms of our presentation, any thoughts and questions. And by the way, since this is such a small group, feel free to jump in and say, hey, Sergio or Sarah, I have a question about that. Feel free to jump in. Let's make it interactive. Okay. Sarah, you want to take us through a little bit about introducing the professional MBA online?
Yes. Thank you both, Sergio and Bob. So FIU has been in the online education realm for quite some time. In the 90s, I believe, is when they started with maybe a few courses. Um, Different colleges have different setups, but in the College of Business, we have about 68 online programs. 11 of those are graduate programs. So we do have a significant offering of graduate programs online. The total enrollment is around 2,200. The professional MBA program will go into more detail in the next slides. So we can go ahead and see. Okay, so as you can see, we have a large alumni database. So this program has 5 starts a year. We have an average, I'd say, from 50 to 80 per start. It really depends on the start, but you can see that we have a large female base, and obviously being from Miami, we have a large Hispanic student population. Our average age is 29. and average GPA 3.3, and then the years of work experience. We have seen that fluctuate a little bit in the last few starts, but it is around 4 to 5, so that's not huge, but it is changing, it seems, so far. Okay, this is a little quick overview. So we have, as a program, we offer 11 specializations, and I said 5 starts a year. We also have scheduled tracks. So this creates flexibility for students in the sense of how they take their classes. Their schedule is fixed based off their specialization and track, but they have the option to take 1 class, 2 classes, and sometimes they come in and out. They can do a 1-2 schedule. So they do have a lot of flexibility in that sense, in the schedule sense. Here's some little quick overview of our rankings. We do get pretty decent rankings. We've been ranked by QS as number 5 online MBA program. We did have some new rankings from US News. I'm trying to remember the exact, I think it was either 10 or I can't remember the MBA online program, but I need to update that. But otherwise, that is a quick overview of the program. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Well, we launched in spring of 2010, so we've been running it for quite some time.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank
So
you.
I'll tell you a little bit about the story and how this all occurred. So I was teaching in the online MBA program, a professional development seminar, and I did my executive MBA and my undergrad here. And I'm still in touch with a lot of my cohort. And in the business world, you know that your network is your net worth, right? The bigger your network is, the more opportunities you have, and there's no better network than your MBA network. And so I asked this group of students, about 80 students in the class, and I said, how many of you know each other? And not a hand went up. And I realized, wow, this is a problem, because especially in an online environment where they never meet each other, it becomes increasingly difficult to build real relationships. And so in our business, we've worked with a lot of organizations with an app platform that we have called the Game Changers Challenge. And what it does is really, it helps create connective tissue, especially amongst distributed teams. So when you have people in different locations, different offices, you want to build culture, you want to kind of bring that sense of community and camaraderie together, you can use this app to help do that. And so I told the executive director in the program, I go, listen, we have this app, why don't we try to see if we can get these students to connect? Because I didn't even realize this was a problem until I asked that question. And so we did that, and we've already gone through about 6 cohorts, and I'll show you a little bit more information about that, but it's really hit the nail on the head in the sense that it's making a tremendous impact on this group, to the point where we've been asked AACSB wrote an article on us, and the program here, Ending the Isolation for Online Students. We are also featured in the EDUCAUSE, honored to be featured in that Horizon report on data and analytics, because since it is an app-based experience over a 30-day period, it does generate a tremendous amount of data, objective and subjective data, that can be used then to help further improve programs, get feedback. It's a little bit of like a pulse survey. So it was featured there, and then we had the honor of being invited to speak at those conferences there. You can see on the other side, and in today's conference, thanks to Bob. Okay, so the question is, how can we engage students to build some real connections in virtual environments? And here's the problem with learning communities, especially those that are that are online. What we're seeing is, since you're not on campus, you do start to see high levels of loneliness, a bit low sense of mattering, and we'll get into that here in a second, lack of meaningful peer relationships, and weakened sense of community. This is really important because not only is it difficult to build peer-to-peer relationships, but the relationship between the student and the university suffers. And then that becomes evident later on when it's time to ask them for support and for money. They just don't feel that connection. That also then leads to some declining mental and emotional well-being from being a bit, disconnected. And then, of course, all this leads to what I like to call quiet quitting, where you don't really see that they're experiencing any issues, no red flags and then they just end up dropping out. Then you got to figure out, okay, well, what happened, right? So we see higher dropout rates in the online learning communities because of that. So there's a lot of interesting work here around belonging, and the latest work by Jennifer Wallace out of Harvard around mattering. And as a matter of fact, no pun intended there, we are actually speaking with Harvard now around their Mattering initiative, and they're looking to use this program with their freshmen because of the fact that these are very kind of high-powered, high-driven kids, and they want them to intentionally engage and with their peers, and understand that life isn't all about money and grades, but about being empathetic to others, actually belonging. And so what the study shows is that to thrive, people need to feel valued and to add value. So belonging gets you a seat at the table. Mattering means that you're going to be missed if you're not there. See the difference? And so, to matter, in order to matter, you need to not only feel valued, but you need to add value to your cohort and to your group that you're part of, whatever group that is. And then once you have mattering, that stabilizes when action is seen, reflected, and socially acknowledged. And that's how our platform comes in, because it gives you a space to be able to connect and add value to others, which creates that mattering loop for the entire group. So the method really stems from these three areas. So number one is it's about actions. So this experience is done over 30 days, and the idea is it's 5 to 10 minutes a day, and it's done on your phone, and it's asynchronous, so you can kind of do it whenever you want. But what it encourages and incentivizes the participants to do is to take small actions on a daily basis. If you've heard of Atomic Habits by James Clear, he talks about how these little steps taken over time, perhaps in the day you do it doesn't really feel very meaningful, but they do accumulate over time to have a bigger impact. And so we incentivize the participants to take these small, doable actions and behaviors that add value. Another really important part of the research, not only with Jennifer, but in general around belonging, is having structured reflection. And what we mean by that is that far too often throughout the day, we're very, very busy. We're doing a lot of things. And what happens at night? You get home, you talk to your spouse, your girlfriend, your family, they ask you how your day was, and you say, busy, I did a lot. But you don't really stop to think about and congratulate yourself on what went well today, because we're just doing so much. And what sticks is the thing that went wrong, right? That bad conversation you had, or the meeting, or a grade you got, or whatever that is. And then we tend to, keep thinking about that overnight, and then it carries over to our families and so forth. So what we do is create a space for intentional reflection about what went well, and we call that the wall of wins. Because what that does is then creates new neural pathways. It helps build self-efficacy, confidence, belief in themselves, and that really has a big impact. And then finally, social visibility, where peers that are part of this experience, they see your wins, and you're able to feel seen, valued, and heard. And you can give high fives to those people that post something on the wall of wins. So that's almost like what social media should be. It's not always that way, but this is kind of the public area where you're getting that peer support and reinforcement. So this is the challenge, and again, we customize this with other organizations, universities as well. This is the one that we've done for FIU, and once again, 4 core pillars. First, social, mobile first. So it's app-based. There's a lot of peer visibility. It's asynchronous, and it's gamified, which I forgot to mention. The gamification component is really powerful because everybody loves to compete. Some much more than others. They get really competitive. And so there will be, for all the actions you take, there's points that get accumulated, and then you'll be able to be recognized for those that take the most actions. It's very simple and intuitive, less than 10 minutes a day. It's meaningful and rewarding because there's positive inquiries, supportive peer connections. And then it's, the advice and the guidance we provide, we like to call it Goldilocks guidance. It's just the right size, bite size. I'm not going to give you 10 things. I'm going to give you one thing to think about today. And that's doable, right? So kind of take that and apply it. So this is what a typical program would look like once we first get together with like with Sarah. We said, okay, what are the outcomes that we're trying to achieve? We design the experience to achieve that, and then we'll have a kickoff Zoom session with the group where we set expectations, officially begin the challenge. Then we'll have a 30-day challenge, and halfway we'll do a virtual happy hour. It's a little bit of an ability, a space for them to connect, and we'll break them out into groups that's nicely facilitated. And then at the end, we'll have a recognition ceremony where we bookend the entire experience. We summarize all the actions we did, all the great feedback, and everyone could reflect on the experience. And typically we do this over 30 days because it's just long enough to start to build some habits and consistency in behavior, but it's not so long that you never see the end of it. So it's a time-based experience. So here are some testimonials from students that we've recorded from the recognition ceremonies. I just wanted to share those with you here.
It was fun. Since the first day, I really enjoyed doing it. It started as a commitment, and then like something I had to do, and I had to go on and like make sure that I got my score in there. But then it just became a habit, and it became a really good, rewarding habit.
For me, the best part was a lot of people mentioned, excuse me, it was a routine. So waking up every morning, having coffee, instead of looking at social, kind of thinking about things that I'm grateful for, gets you thinking about class, just kind of in that routine, and being able to network with the cohort of people in a online program where you don't normally interact with them was a good experience.
I liked looking back at my day and think about the wins. I think that I don't do it enough. Usually at the end of the day, I think about tomorrow's to-do list. So it was a good practice for me to look back and see what I've accomplished and even small wins for the day.
I just thought it was cool to see a little bit about what everybody really liked about their day and the little things that made them happy.
Every day it prompted me to be like, did I offer support to someone today? If so, how?
I like the TED Talks a lot also. I actually shared them with a lot of friends and family. I think it would be, like, paying it forward in a way. What I'm learning through here, I'm also extending to my friends and my family. So it was really positive, a really positive experience for me.
I think it was a good experience, especially because we're online and we don't get to see each other in person. So this was like another way to keep us connected and like give us a little bit of that experience because we're all busy and working. And
each day I just felt like I was becoming a better person. And
the Game Changers app and in general this entire seminar process, breakout rooms, kind of reinforces that initiating positive connections can kind of enhance your perspective on life, make you more positive, you know what I mean, and really again enhance the type of life that you want to live.
All right, so yeah, I love hearing that. It's so validating, and we have a ton of different testimonials. You can see a few here. But it's just a very positive experience. I think the students very much enjoy. Then from an administrative perspective, remember I mentioned about the data. This is a snapshot of, we have to update this. We have a couple more that we need to update on that we've done. But you can see here in terms of the average users, how many actions they take on average, average daily actions per per cohort, and you can see here the bar chart. There, it's pretty consistent performance and consistent use throughout, right? So it's, like I said, it's very easy to use, very intuitive. Average actions per users, and then there's an area in there, a drop-down menu, where it talks about skills that are applied, and these could be things like acknowledging someone, offering support, doing some kind of self-care, things that are important that we know that if they're doing these things, then they're building relationships, they're enhancing their opportunities and building the skills they need to succeed. And then the wins shared, this is that area, that wall of wins, where individuals can share things that they're proud of. And a lot of times it's not that I ran a marathon 26 miles. It could be that, hey, I drank 4 cups of water today. It's these little things that are actually important to do, kind of mundane, but hey, they're wins that start creating momentum. And then appreciations expressed. This is an area that we have an appreciation station where they can express gratitude for someone or something that they're grateful for, which is very important. We know that there's a physiological impact on the individuals when they do that. And so, yeah, a lot of research around belonging. We know George Koo out of Indiana, he's done a ton of work around that and how that impacts academic success and retention, having an engaged community. And so what we do with this is kind of front load belonging, because we run this at the beginning of the sessions, at the beginning of their cohorts. And then the Institute for Higher Education Policy also says that student experience and belonging is a primary driver of persistence and completion. And so there's a lot of research here to support that building of belonging as a primary driver of success. So Sarah, I'll let you jump in here.
Thank you, Sergio. So we've been hearing, as you could see, the feedback from the app experience from the students has been extremely positive. They're happy about it. We recently had a student that started the app but had to change their start. So he's like, do I still get to stay in the app? And we're like, unfortunately, no, but you'll get to do it when you restart. But they really do. We have the majority, over 80%, have said that they have more of a connectedness with their classmates, with the university. The app prompted them to do things that, like, to make connections that they probably wouldn't have done, which is great, because a lot of times in the online programs, if you're a little bit more shy, you don't reach out. But this app kind of forces them to, and not in a bad way. It's not intrusive. It's just once the energy starts and you get the students that are more active, then the other ones just start, and it kind of like creates a domino of them just all doing it. But so again, we survey them after they finish the app. We give them a survey, and these are some of the results. So as you could see, that this is probably one of the first or second iterations that 94% took intentional steps to improve relationships. And again, it's been consistent within every start. We see very high numbers of students that really benefited from the program. So we're getting great feedback for that.
Yeah. And then one of the things we're seeing we did a comparison of January year over year, and we'll look into this as more information. And again, this is just preliminary. There's not necessarily a causality that we can point to, but what we're seeing is that we're getting higher retention rates, at least through the first couple cohorts. And we assume it's because of, bringing in that sense of belonging that supports the research, that it should in turn relate into some higher retention rates. So more to come there, but that's just an initial view. And so the future of online, not only business education, but really any education is we have to remember that we're in the people business, even though we are in education. So I'd love to hear from you guys a little bit about, what stood out with you, what resonated. Are you, what's it like on your campus? What are you experiencing? We got some time here. So.
By the way, we make it a requirement as a professional development seminar so that it's not optional, just in case. So sometimes if you make it optional, even though it's good for them, they don't do it.
Yeah. So Brandy, Dan, Margie, Mina, Ramona, any thoughts, questions? Anything that stood out to you from that?
Yeah, we're having a similar problem. I think all students, all places with students are.
Right.
I'm just trying to think of how something similar could work here. We are competency based. Our students are mostly professionals in the field. Our average age is nearly 40 for our undergraduate students. So they're mostly working adults. And, when you ask them to do anything that they see as extra, there's pushback. Was there any pushback in your
Mhm.
program?
Yeah, no, not really, because since it's very, it kind of just, it doesn't feel like an additional thing that they have to do, since it only takes 5 to 10 minutes a day, and it just, it's a push notification. They're on their phones anyway. They pop in, they add value, or they see what other people are sharing. We've never really had that, right, Sarah? Like any kind
Well,
of
it's also part
pushback
of the
from them.
curriculum, right? So they know they have to
Yeah.
do this in order to get credit to graduate. So
Yeah, exactly. It's just like saying, okay, I'm going to push back on taking the accounting course. I don't want to do it. Well, you're here for that, right? So this is part of the curriculum. So yeah, we haven't really had the pushback there. Um, on the chat here, let me
Nina has a chat, yeah.
yeah, Mina, where is it? I find the app has elements of appreciative education framework. Yeah, absolutely. The appreciative inquiry is built into this. There's a lot of, adult learning theory and science built into the elements of it, because we're trying to use the latest and greatest research to incentivize that behavior and not making it feel like a burden. It's adult learning theory is really important. Just those micro actions. The appreciative inquiry component is in there. The gamification is in there. So yeah, fantastic. What other questions or thoughts?
I wanted to share an interesting experience that happened to me. I teach graduate education courses. I'm the program lead or department chair. And I hold a Zoom meeting on Tuesday nights. And one of the students is an older gentleman, and he's saying, I don't want to retire. I'm finishing my master's. I still want to work. And I'm looking to change careers, and I'm looking for a job. And I'm not having good luck. And so he's expressing his feelings and his experiences. And one of the students that's in the meeting says, "What? George, I had no idea you were looking for a job. Oh my goodness, we are hiring."
Yeah, exactly.
So there you go. When you
Absolutely.
socialize and you talk to each other, you'll be surprised of the great news that you can receive.
Oh, you're absolutely right. A lot of times you need to tell people what you want, right? No one's mind, they're not mind readers. And yeah, this provides that platform, and to hopefully build relationships and then maintain that network. As a matter of fact, one of my executive MBA cohort gentlemen who worked at UPS for a number of years, he got laid off and was asking us, hey, I'm on the market. Let me know if we can, if you have any opportunities. And then we started activating that network. So yeah, it's absolutely right. That's a good one, Margie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who else? Ramona? Dan? What are your thoughts? Are you guys there?
I think everyone's getting ready for lunch.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, fantastic. Well, if you're interested in chatting or seeing how we could, help run this with your cohort, we'd be happy to run a demo for you and learn a little bit more about what you're doing. You could schedule this QR code should schedule send you to a link to schedule a time to run a platform demo. We'd be more than happy to share our insights and see how we can help you. So,
Yes,
all right.
Dan said there's a lot to unpack. There is. And just getting that relationship building, it is a lot. It is a lot, but this has really helped us. So we wanted
Yeah,
to share. Thank
you
you
got it.
all for attending.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Sarah and Sergio. Absolutely right. This is an important thing as more and more programs move online, trying to keep and build the connection with the institution is going to take on more and more importance. And so that's why we had you do your session. So I appreciate
Good.
you taking the time to do this.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.